What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. My name is Miko, joined once again by my guy Morgan Cannon, and this is your go-to place for all things Lions related. That includes news, updates, analysis, and so much more over here on the YouTube channel. Morgan, today we are jumping back into some more All-22 film breakdown of the Lions 2025 draft class. The last video we did, we focused on their first round pick, and Tyleik Williams really got to dive into what really made him a priority for the Lions. His ability to be just very heady in the game, very much a force when you're talking about not just as a nose tackle, but potentially as a very attacking type 3 tech as well. And today we get to talk about another player in the trenches in second round pick Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. And this is some more tape that I think we can again see the makeup and the identity of the types of players that the Lions were targeting in this draft class.
Yeah, you kind of know like the Lions have a type right now, like Brad Holmes. Like he likes the elite athletes, but I will say he's gone like, British Columbia, but, also at the same time likes his SEC and Big Ten guys, like the battle tested that have played the really high competition. And that's where we're at with Ratledge. I know we talked about it in the other video. Man was a 2024 All-American, battled through a lot of injuries during his time at Georgia. And I got it, plays with a nasty attitude. The way I can see the vision, man. I can see Hank Fraley wanting to get this guy in his room and clean some things up. But you can see the juices there and why the Lions made him a priority at 60.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
57, sorry. Traded. I know they traded up 57.
I forgot. Yeah, no, good catch. No, they did definitely trade up to get Tate because again, he definitely has, like you said, from a skill set standpoint, he has that. He has the athleticism, and then he also has the character makeup. If we're talking grit index, somebody that scored fairly highly for his position group as well. So it's again, he checked all the boxes, I think, for Brad and Dan. And I think as we get into the tape, people are going to be able to see like the things that he does well is why at least you and I, and probably some others as well, think he has a very good chance of winning that right guard, that starting right guard spot next to Panay, just based off of the way that he plays. I will say, after going through the tape, I do think he's better in pass pro than he is in, run blocking. But that doesn't mean that he's a slouch in run blocking. I just think he's a much more, comfortable and aware when it comes to pass protection.
Yeah, and there's some examples of it on tape, and he's a really he wants to run block. You can tell he likes it. He wants to bury guys. That's what you want out of your offensive lineman. You want them to play with like a little bit of a nasty streak, but at the same time, he can get a little bit just, I would say, out over his skis, let's say, you know what I mean? Like he's like trying too hard and might miss a block, whiff on a block here and there. So, but that can be cleaned up with technique, man. Getting them. It's not like Georgia has a bad coaching staff. I'm not saying that, but we've seen the Lions coaching staff time and time again develop these guys. Like once they get into the program, like it's like so if you're able to get that out of Ratledge, I do think he has a good shot at winning the right guard spot. That's got to be, we've said it a bunch on this channel, right? But it's got to be one of the better spots to play offensive line in the NFL between a couple of all pros, no big deal. Maybe the best tackle in football, in our opinion, the best tackle in football. So yeah, I do think he's going to have a good shot at it, and it's going to be open competition, man, which is exciting because that's all the coaching staff preaches. You know what I mean? Like that's what brings the best out of them. And so I clearly think now it's going to be an open competition, like you said, for that right guard spot and the left guard spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think both spots on the offensive line are definitely going to be up for grabs. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the tape.
We have the Georgia's running some variation of power. So power, making it simple, someone's pulling, right? So someone's going to seal, someone's going to pull. In this case, it's Ratledge pulling. Looks pretty good here. Gets his head on the right side of the linebacker or right side of the defender. I think it's the edge defender, and just is able to eliminate him from the play. So a positive run. And, it's good to see that because we know how the Lions like to use their guards, when it comes to the running game. And he's a really, really good athlete. Something we talked about before we got on, maybe because he's been dealing with some injuries over the last couple of years. He's a super freaky athlete. He's like a 9.96 RAS score, tested really well, but it doesn't always like pop on tape. It does here and there, but yeah, I'm hoping that his body can heal up and we can see that because it'd be nice to have him right there sandwiched in between Ragnow and Panay, right, Miko?
Yeah, he missed a few games in the middle of the 2024 season. Definitely got to play a lot more consistently near the back end of the season. But I mean, yeah, this Ole Miss game, is another one where he didn't really get to play a lot. I believe he only played 17 snaps in this game and then really tried to play through some things, but I mean, it was wet conditions, definitely not probably the best types of conditions to play offensive line, but I'm right there with you, Morgan. He definitely can do things like this, right? He can get out there and pull and get out in front of a running back. But it was something that I saw fairly consistently in his tape that like it is something that he's going to have to continue to get better at. And it's not the physicality of it. It's not like, movement or he lacks athleticism. I think it's more of like the thing between his ears, right? Like just understanding what his responsibilities are and knowing what he has to do. When he has to go north and south, perfect, right? Or specifically north, right? If you're an offensive lineman, you're constantly just trying to push guys back. He does that amazingly. When you ask him to do things like this, he can do them. But if you ask him to get too far out in space, he kind of starts to kind of look around like, okay, where's the guy that I'm supposed to block? Instead of just like, hey, move west or east and then move north. I don't think it should be that complicated as far as, once he gets to the next level.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that'll just come with reps and, being under Hank Fraley and being with good vets too, you know what I mean? Like who have been in this scheme that John Morton's going to be running. It's going to be his own scheme. It's going to be different than Ben Johnson's, but a lot of the meat and potatoes are going to be similar. And to your point, yeah, the Lions they like to hit people with the kitchen sink when it comes to running concepts, man. Gap, zone, wham, trap, everything. Like they throw it at you. So, and they like to have that variety because then you can exploit, a matchup on a week to week basis, depending on what you're facing. So yeah, that's a really good point. And this next one's one of my favorites of the day too, man. So he's got a guy head up on him in this next clip, which this is, they're in pass pro here. And this is keeping your head on a swivel, like just being able to see what's happening. So he's going to notice 11 walking down near the line of scrimmage, picks him off as he tries to squeeze through the A gap. Really, the only way this rep gets any better is if he's able to watch 4 off the edge there. It's like a little delayed rush. And if he could have stuck his left arm out just to slow that guy down, then this would have been a really crazy rep. But as it were, still a really good, just good awareness because he's got a defender, basically head up on him, standing, is able to see, they communicate. What's his 73 blocks down, and then he's able to slide and pick off 11. So really good heady play. And this is something I like to see because as we know, we got to keep Jared Goff's front porch clean so this offense can, do what it's supposed to do and hang 40 on people.
Absolutely. And when you play in a division that has, some pretty athletic linebackers, when you talk like specifically when I think about Minnesota, Chicago has a couple guys that they like to blitz, Green Bay has, Quay Walker and things of that nature. You have to deal with the likelihood that like, hey, you're going to have to slide in protection. You're going to have to be able to notice things. And can you do that quickly and pick these things up so that Jared Goff doesn't have guys screaming down the A gap or the B gap right in front of his face? And Tate shows that ability, right? To be able to quickly recognize things, quickly make that adjustment, and in that play, wall off the guy. Like it's not just like he just got hands on him and disrupted him. Like, no, like you're literally, it's me and you now. I turned this into just like a dance between the two of us, and you don't even have a chance at disrupting my quarterback. It's very similar to that run play. Unfortunately, the tackle gets beat on the outside, and that's what causes this play not to be successful. But as far as what you're asking your right guard to do, he's doing that at a high level.
Yeah, this is perfect. This next one, just being able to, so you're going to watch the 3 tech. He's going to shift his weight outside towards the tackle at the very last second, essentially. And Ratledge in his head, he's probably like, thank you. This block just became even easier because he's just able to he just blocks, like gets a block on that guy's hip and kicks him out, and it makes it an easy score. And I love the point you made too about like people running, free through the A gap, that you can't have that because for most quarterbacks, you can't really deal with that pressure right up the middle. That's the new flavor of the NFL lately, just because it has become a little easier to deal with that pressure off the edge. There's ways to mitigate it. But if you got some game wreckers on the inside, it's tough. So I really think it's important for the Lions to keep that offensive line elite. And this makes it easy. I would say, offensive line coaches are funny in the way I could see them being like, hey, if they're going to make it easy for you, don't complicate things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's probably not the prettiest kick out block, but it's effective, right? And I think when you have, running backs like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery behind you, they don't always need the the prettiest block, but they just need something that will, again, give them that crease so that they can basically cross the end zone and be able to put 6 up on the board.
Yeah, both of them have really good vision. Jameer's has improved a lot, and it was already really good at Bama, but it's improved.
I was going to say.
It's improved a lot now, man. He sees like a sliver and he's like, okay, meet, and he hits the road runner. This next play, this is my favorite example of Ratledge's grip strength through the series. Watch this, man. He just latches onto this cat, and it's like there's some vice grips. Yeah, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Just got him up there. And that a lot of the times, and most people aren't like this, but I know some fans are like, oh, that's holding. They're never going to call holding, guys, when the offensive lineman's hands are up into the chest area on that like chest plate. Okay, they're just not going to call it that. That's what they're taught to do. You keep your hands inside. Now, if his hands drift outside, that's what they're looking for. But right here, you're just getting sunned, and this is a tough rep for the defensive lineman, right, man?
Well, I was going to say, and another reason I picked this play, because I think there's some people that may look at this play like, well, he's getting driven back, but you're not getting to the quarterback. Again, Ratledge is still able to keep his defender square in the middle of his chest, so you're not impacting this play at all. And even if he did, by the time he would probably get around, the ball's gone. So again, it's not a matter of like how far back you get driven. It's a matter of like, hey, can you keep the defensive lineman from impacting the play before the ball is gone?
Yeah, and that's technique. So for people that are learning a little bit more about offensive line play, this is teach tape, man. So he's gonna shoot those hands, and then once he sinks those hips, right, when you watch him throw his hips forward, right there, and then it's like those hips are sunk. That's what an offensive line like person is going to talk about. That's his anchor, right? So when you hear about analysts or scouts or us talk about like an offensive lineman having a strong anchor, this is what we're talking about here. So this is teach tape, man. Ratledge would give this, if you're talking to him and you're like, what's this rep? He's like, A, because you can do that and he can take like a little hop step back and resync his hips. That's fine. They'll do that all day because that's a clean pocket.
He takes a couple hops, right? He takes a couple hops and he's just like, but again, I'm going to keep you in front of me. I win this rep. Like no matter how you cut it, I win this rep. And obviously they complete the pass, but it's a really good, like you said, Morgan, it's a really good example of his ability to anchor in the pass game.
Yeah, strong. You can tell he's got some, I assume he's country. I've seen his hair, but he's got some country boy strength in that regard. Next up, we have a good rep from his 2023 tape against Auburn. They're going to pass off a game really well here. So watch Auburn's going to run. Boom. 11's going to try to, that was handled with no problem. No.
So why is something like this good? Like, why is something like this a really good thing to see in your offensive lineman?
Especially early on, right? Because defenses are getting more and more creative with how to generate pressure. So a lot of teams run games almost every single rep, if they know it's going to be a passing down. And what we're talking about when I say game or stunt, there's different terminology for it. If you're new to the channel, thanks for being here. What they're trying to do is they're taking, it's either an end tackle stunt or a tackle end stunt. And all that denotes that first letter TE is going to say, so the tackle is going to go first, right? So the tackle is going to crash down, the end's going to loop around his hip. And all they're trying to do is cause confusion on the offensive line. And yeah, they do it a lot in the NFL, especially. So to see him be able to deal with this so easily, like this was a non-starter for Auburn, right, Miko?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that the Lions do as well, too. Like when we talk about running stunts and being able to really kind of try to confuse the offensive lineman, like it's something that the Lions do, and it's something that they have a lot of success with when you have someone like Hutch, and specifically when they have someone like Aleem in there, where you have two guys that are going to be a threat, and it's like you kind of got to pick your poison in these situations.
Yeah, I can't. And Tyleek, as athletic as he looked during our film study, I'm excited about those possibilities moving forward too, especially when Aleem is healthy again. That's going to be gorgeous.
Yep.
So our final play, it's another example from the 2023 tape against Auburn. Just nice little example of him, again, having his head on a swivel in pass pro. So sometimes as a guard or a center, you're not going to have somebody head up on you or be your primary responsibility. So in that instance, the right tackle is blocking down, and then Ratledge needs to find work, so he's helping the tackle. He's got a shoulder there, is able to reach over and assist with 52, and you're able to just kind of keep things clean. I think this is actually intercepted. I cut it off, but the DB just
Yeah.
made a crazy play. But if you look at the quarterback, that's a clean pocket. He's able to step into that and rip it. This is again similar to the last play. It's just a good example of Ratledge having, seen some live bullets in terms of people running games and running complex stunts and just being able to communicate, whether it's pre-snap or just having it worked out to where you know how to do it post-snap with your tackle or your center.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to be happening, especially as a rookie that's getting a starting opportunity, if he's able to win the starting job, is to be out there and not know your assignment, right? Where the ball's getting snapped and you're just like, oh, I have no one to block. Like, no, there's always something. There's always someone to do. It kind of like brings me back to like my warehouse days where like people would be sitting around like, oh, there's nothing to do. And there's like somebody would come and hand you a broom and be like, no, there's something to do.
Always
Like,
something. Look for work. Look
right.
busy.
And that's the same thing with offensive line work, right? Where it comes down to like, you may not have somebody head up, but yeah, go help out a Panay, right? Give a nice little chip there. Give a nice chip to Frank. You never know what type of domino effect that can have that gives Jared Goff that extra beat to be able to either, again, step up into the pocket or be able to extend the play by rolling out.
Yeah, exactly. And an offensive line coach will talk about like finding work. Like there was a couple examples last year when Mahogany would just decleat folks when he didn't have anyone head up on him. But yeah, it's just a couple good examples because Goff can navigate pressure. He's good in the pocket. He can make guys miss here and there. But what we can have is a bunch of free runners, right? So
yeah,
and what I mean by free runner is the defender, defenses make things really complicated now in order to combat these crazy offenses. So when they're quarterbacks, Frank Ragnow, so Goff, Frank Ragnow in our case with the Lions, you have to ID where the pressure's coming from pre-snap. And if you don't, or if you do, you got to know who's hot, your receiver, who's going to get the ball quickly, the ball's out.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone, like, if you can't pick it up, that's on Goff, right? He's going to know, like, all right, I have a finite amount of time to get this ball out.
Yeah.
But what we can't have is people having like a free run at Goff when he's not accounting for it, because that's how turnovers and really bad things happen. You know what I mean? So I hope that makes sense for those that are watching. And yeah, good tape. Definitely someone you think he has a beat to maybe that starting right guard, Miko? I know it's only April 30th.
No, but I mean, I think if we're projecting ahead, right, I think it's going to be a very interesting battle between him and Christian Mahogany. I think the things that we see on tape and the fact that Tate was a 4-year, I think he was a 4-year starter at right guard, or at least consistently, at least a 3-year starter for sure at right guard. You look at the athletic profile that he had and the RAS score that he was able to put up, he has all the makings of a starting right guard. But to that same point, we saw Christian Mahogany play last year, and I think that's why when we talk about at the top of this video, there's going to be a very interesting battle between both guard spots, because I think the Lions do have 3 capable starters. When you talk about Tate Ratledge, you talk about Christian Mahogany, and you talk about Graham Glasgow, like 2 of those guys can play either guard spot, right? And 1 of those guys can play either guard spot and center. So there's a lot of versatility that the Lions have on this offensive line. So I think it's going to be one of the more interesting camp battles to watch. But if I had to like pick a front runner right now, yeah, I would go with Tate Ratledge as far as the front runner, just based off of his experience at right guard alone.
I agree with you. I think I might, if I had to pick someone now. And then I do think Glasgow was pretty beat up last year, and that affected some things. I think he's going to hopefully, return to closer to the 2023 form this year. And then we didn't even mention Miles Frazier, bro. So that's another one. You know what I mean?
We get to that tape because like
Manu.
I was going to.
It's gonna be a bloodbath, bro. Like we said a couple of years ago. Who said that about the linebacker room? I think it might have been Kellen Shepard. But
yeah, because they had so many like viable options to get in the rotation, and yeah, the Lions. I forgot all about Miles Frazier, and that's another guy that was thought to get drafted higher, fell to the Lions in the 5th round. And he's someone else that's going to have a lot to say about one of these guard spots. And he also has a lot of versatility, playing both guard spots and both tackles. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what the Lions decide to do with him as well.
I love the competition, just because now that I'm putting it all together, there's 3 spots that are, no one's taking them for the time, for quite a while. That right tackle for probably another 10, 15 years. But yeah, the guard spots, I think it's going to be wide open, and there's, like we talked about, several viable options. So that's going to be exciting to watch in camp for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this video or this film session. As we kind of stated, you can see all of the characteristics of what made Tate Ratledge such a hot commodity for the Lions in the second round of this year's draft, why they felt so comfortable trading up to get him. And like Morgan and I discussed, we do think he at least has an inside track to get one of those starting spots. It's going to be interesting to see how his game develops, how healthy he's able to stay, because like we said, it was something that he dealt with last year at Georgia, but now he does seem to be healthy, clearly healthy enough to put up a really impressive RAS score. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Lions are able to do with him. So with all of that said, we hope you guys really did enjoy this film session. If you were looking for more additional Lions content, you can always check out prideofdetroit.com. We have new articles, new insights into these draft prospects, and just any more additional news that's coming out about the Lions, always posted over there. And if this is your first time checking out the POD YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It helps the channel out immensely, but it also makes it that much easier for you guys to find our content as well. We have 2 rounds down, 2 draft prospects down. The next draft prospect that we'll be looking at is Isaac Teslaw out of Arkansas, the first wide receiver that the Lions, the only wide receiver that the Lions drafted this year. And we're going to be able to see that's a highly debated prospect right there, Morgan. So it's going to be really interesting to dive into the tape and kind of understand what Brad and company saw in Teslaw to make them want to make such a huge jump up to get him. So definitely make sure you're tuned into the POD YouTube channel to make sure that you can catch when we drop that film session as well. But with all of that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll be sure to catch you guys in the next one.